All right, welcome back. I've been joined in the studio now by legal practitioner Barrister Kelechi Anwu. He just been out to do some justice to the state of the nation. Lingering issues are still bothering Nigerians at the moment. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Amadin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, let's start with something that is affecting pretty much all Nigerians, even those who are rich, though it might not have as much an effect on their day-to-day or their lives in any manner. But it is something that is happening. Let's talk about fuel increase. Now, it is believed, or it was believed by a lot of Nigerians, that once the fuel subsidy is finally removed, there would be a drastic hike in price, and then Nigerians would adapt to that new normal. But I think almost every week now we're getting one reason or another why fuel has to increase, and now we have the marketers saying that we could be getting prices of about, let me get that correctly, about 720 naira per liter. Just yesterday or so, we also bought fuel at 680 naira. So the question now is, and this time it's saying that it's as a result of the dollar rate and all that. What do you make of this whole situation, and what Nigerians have to contend with every other day?
It is it's quite unfortunate we are having this conversation again and again, and it has become an everyday conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost on daily basis that we talk about fuel and then an increase there too. Now, Nigerians sleep at night only to wake up in the morning that fuel have increased. So it's a sorry tale for Nigerians. The expectation was that since we are an oil producing nation and probably we have refineries, and then we are given that gaslighting of Alhaji Dangote's refinery working prior to now. The assumption was that it was supposed to be working December 2022, but here we are still importing, and the annoying part is that we now have monopoly marketing, where the government no longer imports, but certain individuals have been given the license to import. Just few. Now it then monopolizes the market in a way that it fixes the prices. And
I thought the reverse is supposed to happen. Now that it's not just government.
No. Now that there are just few persons who are importing, not all marketers. There are just few persons who import into the country and thereby distribute to other marketers within the country. Now, these few persons that are important now monopolize the entire system. They fix their price. When monopoly, of course, it kills the interest. Now, these persons fixes their price at whatever rate they deems fit, and whenever they wake up and then feel they need to make gain. It's now about profit making. It's no longer about what Nigerians feel and what. And the most disappointing part is that all this is coming at a critical time where the dollar is up. The fuel scarcity is up. Every single commodity in the market, including the groceries, the food items that we purchase in the market, has all tripled by their prices. It's coming at a very critical and a peril time for our nation. Now, it therefore begs the question whether these persons consider our Nigerians at all in any of these. Because aside the government policies, as it were, now, what about these individuals? Now, every day they come about this, it is because there is increase in the dollars. It is because this, it is because that. Now, it does not make it make sense to an ordinary Nigerian who just want to enter the public transport, who is charged triple of what he pays for a public transport. Now, how does the dollar rate affect him that he now buys the vegetable he used to buy like 100 naira is now 300 in the market? It does not make sense in the normal Nigerian situation. So now these individuals and their monopoly have in a way polarized the market, that they get to decide when and what the price is. It is certainly not well for Nigeria.
Well, it's interesting, one might say, or like they say, these changes were meant so that market forces and just normal economics comes to play, where no person has that right to make the decisions and so on and so forth. But that being said, what do you make of the stances or the explanations before and after the decisions have been taken. Now, when the naira was floated, it was said that this would, fix things, bring things back to normal, and that putting so much effort trying to quote unquote defend or protect the naira is actually what leads to some of these things. Now we have a trending interview, an old interview of President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, when he was speaking about his reasons not to float, and he said that people will float their naira or their currencies because they export, they have production and all that, and they can't afford to do that to naira. Now people are saying, well, he was right. But that being said, why do you think it is now after the fact that we're hearing these explanations that, well, a naira float might not particularly work if the country is not producing enough? Do you think the country should have, or pardon me, the government should have done something before this policy?
Yes, the government was so in a haste to make some of their policies. These policies, they were not thought through. If you understand, we import almost everything, and that does not. And when we import, we buy dollars. There is no dollar coming in. There is no foreign exchange coming into Nigeria. When we buy to pay them. So you see, if we are a producing nation, and you see the inflow of dollar, if you go to the bank, they will tell you there is no dollar. If you go to CBN, they will tell you there is no dollar, because there is no inflow. There is an outflow.
Well, why do you think the black market, the BDCs and all that, always have dollars?
Of course.
So some persons have even described situation where, while in the very bank, you ask for a dollar, the bank doesn't have, and the bank directs you to someone within the building there who has dollars.
Of course,
what do you think is going on?
At this critical point in our nation history, it is pertinent that we take critical decisions. And one of those things that I thought about when government was making all this. When government rose the BDCs from 1,000 to 5,000 license, now you expected all this. Now I expected at this critical moment that the government ought to clamp down, suspend all BDCs. Pending when the economy becomes boom. Let the bank become the only legal tending exchange medium.
Isn't that draconian?
We have more than enough banks that you can access. They have branches all over the country. So it now becomes, because when the banks these rates, this bank have access to these funds, and you exchange from these banks. There are histories, there are payment logs, there are inflows and outflows. It shows how this money coming. But when there are no account of what happens in BDCs, and there are no account of what the money, and it is through these BDCs that we have where people go to take money and go and start it in their houses. Now, I expected within this period that banks should be the only persons who will be exchanging dollars and other foreign currencies. You don't also forget, we had almost similar issue before the bank capitalization. We almost had everybody opening banks and getting licenses to open banks, and you see people could turn in their warehouses and parlors to bank hall. The next day you wake up and the bank is gone. Until there was a capitalization by CBN that this is what it should be. You must this are the number of, and there were strict compliance with the issuance of banking license. Now, banking, there are certain things you don't do within the bank. The banking sector is so formal that there are certain things you don't do. But the BDCs, they are unregulated. They are not the amount of cash they have within their disposal is not something. It's when you at the moment suspend the BDC, everybody moves to the bank. Everybody moves to a monitored channel. Everybody transacts towards the bank. But at the moment, nobody is transacting to the bank.
What will suspending BDC look like? Someone says on a one-to-one basis, if you need your dollar change, come and meet me in my house. How do you really stop them? And again, trying to stop them, like we saw with the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, you try to clamp down on these persons, and it just somehow further revitalize them.
Now, just like illegal drugs, it does not mean that illegal drugs are no longer being peddled in Nigeria, but it minimizes the circulation. You know, people trade with caution. You no longer openly, just like when you go to Zone 4 now, you see Nigerians lined up within the BDC areas exchanging hard currencies. But now those things can be done in the bank. Those things can be done within monitored exchanges, and you see the inflows and the outflows. There is no, you know, the amount of money that comes in and the amount of money that goes out. Now these also, I think the mistake this government made was you know, bypassing, not understanding that the world has evolved, not understanding that there are certain digital currencies that you needed to allow. Now, don't also forget that Nigerians are very, very smart people. You stopped them from when the bank stopped the use of dollar cards. Nigerians devised a new means upon which they pay for their things. They use digital assets. When you stopped them from having inflows of money, of currencies and certain degrees of exchange, what did they do? They moved to non-conventional medium, which are the digital assets. They convert their dollars into these digital assets. Now you need to make open these channels, monitor these channels, put a framework to these channels, allow the money coming through the normal appropriate channels, through the bank, of which are the no-mint channel, and you will get the results you're looking for. You cannot get those dollars by keep restricting a lot of things, and at the end of the day, you expect to have an inflow of dollars. You won't have it. So my advocacy and my advice is the government to look at their policies. Most of these policies are not tenable. Technology has evolved, and you can do better by allowing some channels that you've closed, and this way, and also build trust. It's not just about allowing those channels. Build trust that their monies are safe with you. Not today they put in their money. Look at when people started trading with Bitcoin and all the rest. People start arresting them. There are countries that accept those digital assets and all whatnot. So why is Nigerian case different?
Right. So while we're still on the topic of the economy, you know, recently the CBN finally released its financial report for the first time since 2015. It has always been shrouded in secrecy, as though the going on within the CBN is not for the average person to know. And I'd just like to read out some of the, you know, what was takeaways or the, you know, from that report. We have that the federal government debt accounted for 72% of total loans and receivables in the CBN's balance sheets. This is all the way from 2016. We have 2017. We have that the CBN declared, the CBN borrowed 3.1 trillion naira and 230 billion naira from big global lenders, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, summing up to a total of 3.3 trillion in 2021. This is borrowing by the CBN. It also owes another 3.15 trillion naira in foreign currency forward, which are forex obligations. Let me just read a little bit more. The Apex Bank's results also show it earned an additional 247 billion naira. There's quite a lot here. Yes, the Apex Bank also reported a whopping 875.2 billion naira in credit losses, and one of the CBN's most significant roles in the last 8 years has been its funding of federal government budget deficits through the ways and means where government has gone way and above what the Constitution and the law allows. But the question is, now that this has been released, there's a lot of bad news here.
Very bad news.
And not just for now, it's also, you know, for the future. People are really scared as to what's going on. But the question now I'd like to ask is, on whose feet do we lay all of this? Is it just the CBN governor? I understand that the legislature has the role of oversight function, and for 8 years, no one was privy to this, not the Nigerian people, not the Senate, not the House of Rep, and it's all now being released. after the CBN governor Emefiele was removed. And a lot of people are calling for the CBN governor's head. I'm wondering, is that where it stops? Who do you think, all round, does the blame spread across?
No, the blame is supposed to go across. Like, this should not even be all. Like, a serious president will do an internal audit, a forensic audit of, it has never been done for a very long time now. A forensic audit of the entire CBN accounts and everything they hold, assets. Now, don't forget, most of these monies, just like the one they borrowed from JP Morgan, from all I know, that money was never brought to the attention of Nigerians. That it means also that it was not also approved by the National Assembly. So it was through the window borrowing by the CBN.
It's illegal.
Of which it is illegal. Now, all these borrowings cannot happen if the president is not aware. It cannot happen if the vice president is not aware. It cannot happen if the minister of finance is not aware. It cannot happen if the CBN governor is not aware. It cannot also happen if the entire board of the CBN is not aware. So the list is endless. The persons who should be held responsible are this long list. So for us as Nigerians, it is time for us to start holding our leaders accountable. Gone are the days where we sit down in our houses and complain. Now it is for us to call on, make the advocacy, let it be heard.
Do you think it can go all the way to the former president?
Of course. Nobody. I
mean, the president, former President Buhari himself has said
he's not immune.
But he says himself that he will not be appearing.
Does he mean anything? Is the president of the United States not answering to charges right now? Is he immune from charges? So it does not mean anything. Where there is will, there is we have a president who have a will to go after every crooked person. Once it has been investigated and confirmed that you have either directly or indirectly by your act or omission contributed negligently or by your own known conduct to this anomaly that have faced either the CBN or to the nation, the person should be held accountable. There is nobody that is immune except the serving president and the persons who are under immunity by reasons of the constitution.
Let's talk about, when you spoke about negligence and all that. To what extent are people liable for that? Is it possible for someone to be given a job and do it badly without being made to be punished for it? We will just say that this person was not good at their job. As long as suffer for it?
When there is a misuse of fund, when there is any crime that is committed, as long as you are within that and you partook in that and you knew you are a party to that crime.
No, let's put it in perspective now. These borrowings that we're seeing,
were they aware that those monies were borrowed?
Who are you asking?
All these persons that I mentioned, the president, the vice president.
If they were,
the vice president is the chairman of the economic committee. The president is the commander in chief and the chief executive officer of the nation. The minister of finance is in charge of the nation's assets and the finance. The accountant general of the federation. And don't forget, the minister of somebody from the minister of finance forms part of the board of the CBN. So now, let's go over to CBN. The chairman of the CBN, the governor of the CBN, the deputy governors, the directors, the board members of the CBN. They are all parties to this. There is no way such fund will be approved. And it will come into this country and these persons are not aware.
All right, so that's what I'm saying now. If that is the case, and they say this is why we did this, so and so, but at the end of the day, it ended up being the wrong decision. The question I really want to get to the bottom is: is there punishment?
Did you go beyond? Does the law have a limit upon which you go to? Does the law have a limit upon? Are there things that you must undertake before you are
speaking legally now? No, but I'm talking about, with all these things being done and it having a very negative effect on the economy, and people looking at it and saying, even if there was no ill will here, this person just didn't know how to do their job very well.
Exactly.
The question is are there punishments for being incompetent, or do you have to break the law? Can you say you came in, dollar was 200, you left, dollar was 800, so go to jail?
Now, the dollar being 200 is not a crime, but then there are things, there are steps you took within those periods. It will be reviewed, the actions you took that are not in tandem with what the law says. If you have, there are certain things, your conduct should be according to the law. We have several laws guiding the finance. We have the CBN Act, we have the Constitution, we have every law. We have even the Finance Act. So, does your conduct run within those laws? Or have you gone an offshoot of what the law provides? If you have gone contrary to what the law provides, you have acted arbitrarily. And you are liable, personally liable for the actions you undertook in the discharge of your duty. Now, it does not, if you fail, as long as you have taken, even if you succeed, as long as you've gone beyond the ambit of what the law provides for you, if you have gone beyond the law, if the law says you must seek the National Assembly before you borrow a loan, if you do not seek the National Assembly, that loan, you are liable for the loan, and you repay that loan personally.
All right, let's talk about the powers or the limits to which the legislature can do things. I'm sure you saw the screening of the former Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, at the Senate, and an issue was raised that while he was in office, he refused to answer for certain funds, that was appropriated to him to disperse for certain reasons. Now, that being said, what is the way forward, or what is the avenue? What avenues are available to legislators, when these things happen? Take, for instance, since 2015, we have not seen this report. Let me get it correctly. I believe we're supposed to get this according to, the CBN Act of 2007. The Apex Bank is expected to publish its report within 2 months after the end of each financial year. Now, it seems as though the legislature dropped the ball on this aspect of their oversight functions. But the question is, if they were up and doing, and they were attempting to do this, and they called and they did not get answer, what is the legal way to go about this? What can the legislature really do? Now,
the legislature has a lot. It's just that most persons who are there do not understand their job. They do not understand what they can and cannot do. By Section 88 of the Constitution, it gives the legislatures the power to summon anybody and arrest anybody. But they do not utilize those powers except for poor things. Now, I will explain. By the act of the Constitution and by the act of the rules of the National Assemblies, they have rights of oversight. They have right to monitor. They have right to oversee, the affairs of each parastatals of government, including the presidency. If there are ways, that is where the checks and balances comes in. We do not have the legislatures as a rubber stamp. It is a full arm of government that different and distinct from one another. We have 3 arms of government that are separately distinct from one another. They serve as a distinct entity. Now, each of them have function, and part of this function is to oversee the affairs, that this person do not encroach or go beyond, or does not underplay their function. Now, where there are these lapses, it is the function of the legislature to make those summons. Summon these individuals. If the legislature even has the right to issue warrant of arrest on any city, that Section 88 said, on any citizen, on any Nigerian, anybody, any person. So they have the right that they can activate under Section 88 of the Constitution, and if they so activate those powers, they will have the CBN or any parastatal and their news. But the thing is, most of these things are within party lines, and politicians are all dancing towards the same mud water. So nobody wants to open. All of them have cobwebs in their cupboard. You could see when somebody openly, a minister who is currently now the Senate President, openly accused the National Assembly of partaking in bribe and job racketeering and contract racketeering when he was the minister and of NDDC. You get? Now, it means, what does this mean? It means that the National Assembly might not have that will, because them themselves, their hands are not clean. You who comes to equity must come with clean hand. If you're asking me to make an account, you yourself that is asking me to make an account must have a verifiable account. Your hands must be clean. So, but in most cases, their hands are not so clean. So when you ask Mr. A, who is the head of this parastatal, to come, he will tell you, I am not coming. What confidence? What is the audacity? The audacity is that you who sits on that chair as his interviewer, person who conducts that oversight, have things beyond your sleeves.
All of this is interesting and perhaps a little saddening, taking into account the Freedom of Information Act, which was supposed to make governments very accessible to Nigerians. But that's not the case.
Yes. There is one office that we've not utilized in this country, and that is the office of the citizen. Yes.
How much power does
it has? Enormous powers that you can never imagine. Now, how do you activate the office of the citizen? Now, there is one beautiful law that was made in 2011. That is the Freedom of Information Act. Now, that Freedom of Information Act allows you to request for information that is being held by public officers in the custody of a public office. Now, as long as that information is not marked secret, and there are the Secret Act already stipulate the kind of documents that are marked secret and confidential. So as long as any document is not marked official secret and Secret Act by confidential, in accordance with the Secret Act, you have the right to apply for those documents, and it shall be given to you within 7 days. And if it is not given to you, you have the right to approach the court within 30 days of refusal. And the court will mandate them, and there is even a punishment of fine or imprisonment for any officer who fails to give you that.
That's really interesting.
So now, the office of the citizens, when you have these things, when you are aware of these rumors, you can make that application, and just know the officer you're making it to. You get? If you're making it to that officer, make it to that officer, and if possible, attention to the officer that you're making it to. Let it be that you're denied. Now seek a redress. Let the Federal High Court interpret for you, and the Federal High Court might even award damages or compel them to produce those documents. Now, when you're armed with those things, the office of the citizens, if the office of the citizens were activated within this period that the CBN were doing all these things, persons would have sued the CBN to account, since the CBN Act says they must give their report within
2 months.
The
end of the financial year.
Any end of the financial year. So you wait till the last day of the 2 months. If by the last day of the 2 months you do not see that report, as a Nigerian, they owe you that report. They owe you that piece of document. It should be visible to you and to everyone. So as a Nigerian, if a day after that, the expiration of that 2 months after the end of fiscal years, most fiscal years are December 31st, and some are June at the end of June. So depending on which one. So at the end of the fiscal year, you can apply to them to issue you certified true copy of that in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. If they do not give you, you have the right to approach the Federal High Court, compelling them to make public such finding. The law already says they must make it public. So it is the Federal High Court must, as a matter of law, compel them to make it public.
All right. I think that's that's fair enough. Us here in the media, particularly, there are issues we face on a daily basis, trying to, squeeze out information from these places where they make it very difficult. And like they say, sometimes we need, I don't know if it's called jurisprudence, or we need to add to the history of laws just by testing some of these things.
I will advise organizations to have lawyers within their firms. And if you have lawyers, these lawyers are supposed to be aware that they make these applications. And when they make these applications, you make this application freely, and they must apply give you. And most times, if the ones that require payment, just for the law says the ones that require payment, the payment should be for the expenses in producing those things, and not an extraneous payment. Now, if you know the how many pages the documents are, you're going to calculate it in accordance to the market value of producing that document. So if the photocopies or co-printing is 1 naira, the fee for that thing must be 1 naira. So when you make that applications, so lawyers within offices should be able to ascertain, get those documents. When you make those applications, they will definitely give you those documents.
Right, so that's fair enough. Our phone lines are open now, so you can call in. The number will appear on your screen shortly to make your contributions or ask your questions. But that being said, let's move over now to another issue. We've been speaking about the role of the citizen, or the citizen's office. And we know that the legislature is meant to be that body of government that somehow speaks for the people. It's a sort of representative government, like we used to have in Greece and Rome, where someone was standing for you. He would come back, speak to all of you. Is this what you want? Is this, but these days we don't see that level of communication.
There is no more town halls.
Exactly.
Legislators no longer hold town halls.
Yes, we don't even know how they know what the people want. So let's talk about legislators. I keep mixing up that. Legislators now, lawmakers. Recently, a video, started to trend of the Senate president speaking to other lawmakers, and very cheekily, as is known to be, telling them about some certain, will I call it stipend, or certain funds to be sent to their account for the holiday. And this, caused some uproar because Nigerians felt a bit cheated, that those who are already in power seem to have so many luxuries, while the average man doesn't. And not just that the average man doesn't, the average man is being told to sacrifice for the greater good of the nation. President Tinubu has come out himself to say there is no other way. This is the only way. As we were speaking just now, let me just read it out. The NLC have also threatened nationwide strike or protest if the petrol price rises any further, and that's just coming in now. But anyway, the issue now is, let's talk about what exactly does the law allow for lawmakers, because we saw one of these lawmakers come out to say that they got 2 million naira each. Some have said they didn't see anything. Some are denying it. He changed the statement to prayers after he said token. So that being said, what does the law really say about what lawmakers are entitled to and what not, especially with SERAP suing the National Assembly over plans to spend about 110 billion naira on bulletproof cars? So let's take this call, then we delve into that question. Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. We lost that call. Please go ahead.
Yes, it's very unfortunate when I read about the issues at the National Assembly and I watched the video. That video was the height of the anomaly that we face from our legislators. And just like I was saying, the legislators seriously have things off their sleeves. Now, how do you, in a situation where over a year ago, the Nigerian finance minister came openly to tell you that Nigerian is broke, Nigeria do no longer have money, I expected some kind of conservative measures, some withdrawal, some will I say discounted things that the legislators ought to do, some concession in the bogus fees and every other government employee ought to make. Now, when I read about the legislators proposing to buy their cars it did not also sit well with me. Now, few days ago, the Senate President made publicly that he has sent out some token which we also understand were monies, and some brought out some figures as monies. Now, are those what the legislators ought to be doing in a time, and mocking Nigerians at a time where we need a little bit of conservation in things that we do and the way our spending nature? Now, the question about the appropriation for the National Assembly, what are their entitlement? Now, their entitlement is as provided by the fiscal management office, the fiscal office. Now, every parastatal of the government, including the presidency, the ministries, the National Assembly, they get the states, they get their allocation, their fund, the percentage, and their remuneration percentage according to what the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Committee stipulates that it is theirs. And this is made, this thing is made according to the laws. And for the procurements, the law, the House, the Senate and the House of Reps also have orders and their laws according to what they should be given to the National Assembly. Now, the question to ask is this bulletproof cars unholy distributions of stipend for holidays, are there part of the remuneration approved by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission? The answer is no. It is no way what the Revenue Mobilization approves. So are those spending in accordance with the law? Of course not. Not at this critical point where everybody is asked to be patient. Everybody is told that it is a pregnant woman's pain. Everybody is asked to sacrifice. So what then is the National Assembly sacrificing? What are they sacrificing? Buying bulletproof cars to be stationed in all major cities of Nigeria, like in Kano. There will be a bulletproof car in Kano, Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt. For the National Assembly, for every day they visit those areas. As a few days ago, the SERAP informed us that they were suing for such spending. How do you spend such money? How many Nigerians have bulletproof cars? For me, I feel these luxuries that are given to public office holders is the reason why people kill themselves to rig election and get into power. Now we have made the enterprise of politicking more fanciful and more exciting than the enterprise of the private sector. So people are more interested in acquiring illegitimate wealth through politics and the rest and governance than establishing entrepreneurship institutions that will cater and create jobs.
All right, I'm sorry to cut in here, but I don't know. What do you think, or do you think there's any valid argument for against cutting costs or picking the more prudent measures? I'll give an example. While cars are being bought 2023, 2022 models, bulletproof, if the suggestion comes that these lawmakers should make use of cars from 2012, from 2014, is there something that does it belittle our officials or something? I just like to get. It does not. Is there something wrong with that? It does not.
Most of these guys were nothing before they entered those public office, and most of them had their private cars. I believe the Nigerian mobilization should have the maximum luxury cars that should be a government official should. There should be a limit.
Is luxury necessary?
It is not.
I also take into account.
It is not. It is not.
I want to point out an example. Recently, a lawmaker in Anambra State attempted to gain entrance into the State House of Assembly with a kekena pep. He hired a kekena pep, and the security basically were, kind of hassling him, telling him that he's an honorable, we don't allow kekena peps. And we could hear the lawmaker arguing that this is what he has, that he's going to use what he has, and he was asking the security if they gave him any cars.
There is no
So
law.
the question is, I just want to know, is there an issue of perception here? Perhaps for other countries, taking a look at our officials, seeing them in cars that are not expensive, does that belittle the country?
No, it does not at all. And I don't understand this penchant for luxury lifestyle and as if we are rituals and ritualists and all that. This is a government fund and taxpayers' money, for crying out loud. I believe there should be a benchmark as to the amount of money that should be spent on a vehicle by public office holders. Now, if we have this benchmark, any other person who needs an extraneous car, a more flashy car, should buy that with his money. Now, you see persons, it is not as if it is not good to drive to 2023 Rolls Royce. But at what cost? To whose expense? A nation is bleeding and you're buying a car of 250 million. A car of 250 million. A certain politician will tell you that a 250 million car can build like six block room flats, classroom blocks in communities in their village. Most of them have no access road to their community. Most of them have no schools, good school in their community. Most of them have no motorable roads or even pipe bomb water in their community, and they want to drive a bulletproof car. Is Nigeria at war? Is Nigeria at war? Even if it is the Niger that is at war, I'm sure all the officials of the government will not be buying bulletproof car. Now, will they buy a bulletproof car for all the senators, or is it just for the head? Is the head under any terrorist attack of any kind that we do not know? Is there any planned attack on him by terrorists that we do not know? Let him tell us why he needs a bulletproof car. Why would the nation sponsor and fund a luxury of a bulletproof car of 250 million? It goes to show that we do not have any reservation for any citizen, or the citizens' rights, or the taxpayers' money. The poor people are taxed thousands of naira, accumulating in billions all over the nation. And to what expense? A politician purchasing a 250 million car and sharing over 2 million naira for themselves on their individual cruise and vacations. How much has been shared to citizens?
It's interesting because even amongst the states, take for instance Abia State, even senior special assistants are getting cars worth 35 million naira. But the question now is, does this in any way reduce the capacity of the work that can be done? And on the flip side, there are politicians making arguments that all of this is as a result of the electorate. They are blaming the electorate for governance being bloated. They say when it's election time, a person cannot simply come to the electorate and say, this is what I have to offer, this is what I'm bringing to the community, this is what I'm bringing to my people, and he will be voted for. They say that the people demand all forms of payment across all levels.
I disagree.
So they say that they have to, make that money back, and they are blaming the electorate.
I disagree. In the last election, we saw even Keke Napep driver winning election. We saw a hunter winning election. We saw persons who have no means to buy anything winning election. So it is still them who has fed this electorate with gifts and all that, and maintaining it. Nobody asks you for all these things, and then we are given. And when you give somebody gift, he accepts. Now, there are persons who have won election in this country without those bloated gifts. You understand with me? one in I believe in Kaduna State, another one in Enugu State. There were persons, this last election, there were persons who won election without even spending. Most money they spent were money they spent on posters.
But some people feel this is just lightning in a bottle and it's not likely to happen again.
Are we so sure? How are we so sure?
There even talks that these persons you mentioned will end up in the ruling party at the end of the day.
But at least they won election against those who spent money. But at least they won election. It does not lie. The electorates are not to be blamed in all this. And a politician decides to be extravagant with the money, with money meant to better his people, does not mean the electorate is to be blamed. It is the politician who has chosen to be foolish. You understand? It is not the fault of the electorate. If you give a gift, if I give you a gift, me personally giving you a gift, you can accept. Is it not me? Did you ask me to give you the gift? I offered, and you accept. Did you force me to give you the gift? You did not force me. So why would I blame you for taking a gift? What about me that is giving? So somebody should question me that gave that gift, not you that is receiving the gift. So the politicians who go to the extra mile, rob the banks, break bounds, just to make a flashy lifestyle and then looking for you to entice. Why not, for a point, stop enticing people and do good deeds? You think the electorate are stupid? There is no way someone who is providing them with good dividends of good governance, provides them with potable waters, provides them with a philanthropic person in their community, who takes people on scholarship, who have saved families by the policies as he has brought to the village. There is no way such person will come out and they will not support that person. Is it the person who is coming to buy them at that dying minute? The electorate are not this dumb. They are not this stupid now. We have enlightened the electorates that have voted. They have shown over time that they can and will be intelligent in their choice, and they've made that over time. If it weren't so, we wouldn't be seeing these persons that won in the last election.
Right, that's fair enough. That's to the politicians out there who believe that they have to recoup their losses or their spending. I hope they get a change of heart. But that being said, people say once you get into the National Assembly, there's no more party. It's just one big family because
I agree with you.
Everyone is together.
I agree with you because recently we saw that play out. Nobody when the cash transfer and prayers were sent to people's email, nobody said anything.
Even these the keke and pep.
Exactly. Nobody is saying anything. Nobody is saying anything. So you see when
what do you think that would look like in the National Assembly? Do you think one man can decide to stand against that overwhelming number of voices against you? Can someone stand up and say, Mr. Senate President, sir, I don't know what talking you're talking about?
It is possible. It is possible. When somebody raises his voice, there is another voice who will join him. There are persons waiting for who will be bold enough to raise that voice. And also, I am also talking to our citizens. These are your elected members. These are your staffs. In fact, there are people who run your company. Nigeria is our company. The constituency upon which they are governing, the senatorial district they are coming from, is like a company upon which we have shares. So we have elected them as CEO, as managers of this. It is good that we call them and caution them when things like this happen. In fact, the numbers of all these persons is supposed to have the number of either their senators or their House of Rep member. When there are issues like this, you call them, bombard them with calls. Let them be aware. Let them make the right choices. There was a time in this last regime that they introduced the water bill. Nigerians took it upon themselves, brought out a list of email and phone numbers of all the elected house members and asked people to call in your senators, and trust me, in less than 1 week they voted against that bill. because Nigerians stood up.
The same thing happened during the Electoral Act.
Exactly.
Issue.
Nigerians stood up and we are calling, like you will be here, your phone will be ringing. By the time you're done from here, in less than 1 hour, you've had like 100 missed call. Before you finish for the day, you've had 1,000 missed call.
Yeah,
my brother.
I think this also shows the role of CSOs.
Not just CSOs, private individuals. Me and you. We need to utilize the office of the citizen.
As a lawyer, I'd like you to clarify. Hope it does not count as a harassment?
It does not. It does not. As long as you are not going beyond those issues you're asking. If I call you and ask you, I voted for you. But if I begin to call you and ask you about your family, I have gone overboard. But if I call you,
even if you did not vote, can you call?
Even if I did not vote, as long as I am a member of your community, I have the right to call you and ask you about issues of my community. So if I have my senator, I will call my senator even 2 a.m. in the morning, and he must answer me, because that's why the moment he picked up that form to run there, he would have sat down in his house while somebody who is more viable, who is more active, goes there. But he has chosen that he's the most active one. So let him be awake when I say jump. What he will say is how deep. So that is what it should be. We have senators. We have the responsibilities of citizens to call our senators, have their phone numbers, ring them whenever you feel like. Ask them questions relating to what you send them to do in the National Assembly. If there are issues that have been discussed at the National Assembly, call them about it. If it is, let it be a joke. Call them, let them be aware that we are your constituents, and we are calling you because we sent you there. Trust me, in the next election he will not buy form. If he feels pressured, in the next election he will not buy form. If he changes line, we will get a new line. He is our representative, and as long as he is our representative, we have a right, every Nigerian have a right to call him and ask him about those things. The only thing you cannot do is to go overboard by calling him and asking him things that are not related to the things that are happening within his office. But if it is things that happen in his office, you have every right, you can even call him on live podcast and everything. He must be answerable to you, except he does not want to do again. Then he resigns, we put another person. That is how it works. They are your employee. The office of the citizen is the most important office in the nation. And the moment the citizens begin to understand that, if you do not have the phone number of your representative, from this day forward, go and get it. Call him and let him know, or let her know. Ask them questions relating to that office.
That's fair enough. I do hope that our viewers are taking a lot from this. We really try to push the agenda of the citizen, their involvement, their role in governance and participation, and we hope that a lot of this is getting through to you. And also, we can't, like I said, even though it's a citizen issue, we can't discountenance the importance of CSOs in this. Sometimes they are the ones who compile those phone numbers and spread it and ensure people get up and do the needful. Speaking about citizens speaking out on issues, about yesterday or the day before, we saw some Nigerian citizens taken to the streets of Kano State to protest the alleged Niger invasion. What we saw, what we hear, is that ECOWAS has ordered his reserve troops or forces, I think they are called, to restore order in Niger. And while that order was given, about hours or a day later, we saw that the coup plotters or the persons who overthrew the government are now ready for dialogue. They are ready to speak once more with ECOWAS. I'd like to get your thoughts on that issue and on people's aversion to a war.
Now, like I said last time I was here, as long as the National Assembly does not give their consent, Nigeria cannot participate in that war. Nigerian troop cannot step foot or participate in that war. As long as the National Assembly cannot, by Section 5 sub 4 of the Constitution, it says where the Nigerian intends to participate in the war against any other nation. there shan't be a joint meeting of the National Assembly and an approval from the Senate. Now, the only time you can jettison that is when the president, having been satisfied, seeks the advice of the National Security Advisor of the National Security Council, and the National Security Council understands that it is a matter of national security. When that war affects Nigeria directly, that is the national security. So when it affects Nigeria directly, that is when it will become expedient for you to send troops, even without the National Assembly. But without that, if it does not affect the national security, you cannot send Nigerian troops to Niger without the approval of the Senate. Now, what does this mean? Nigerians that are protesting, they are exercising their right to assembly, peaceful assembly. They are exercising their right to expression, to express how they feel in the government and governance. They have a right to reject that war. Of course, there is no war that is a good war. The war will have an impact on both us. It is already having an impact because there is the trade between the Niger and some part of Nigeria has been blocked. As of today, I was seeing trailers lined up within the borders of Niger. So you see, the trade relation is already being breached. It does not favor the Nigerians, and it does not favor Nigerians that are here. So you see, it is within the prerogative of citizens to protest.
But do you think the threat of force was necessary to at least lead to more dialogue and conversation?
It was not necessary. In fact, before now, the Nigerians junta refused to dialogue with anybody.
But now they have, after the threats.
It wasn't because of the threat. There were threats, even the days of the threat elapsed. The days elapsed.
No, those were, that if it elapses, we will do something and so on and so forth. But this time around, they already gave the order. They already gave the order to the reserve forces to go and restore order.
Can they? That order was given when? It was given in more than 3 days ago.
I assume it will be pending, like you've said, pending National Assembly approval across the member states or thereabouts.
So can they do that? Now, the Nigerians has the right. They feel it is not because the ECOWAS has given order, but because there are traditional rulers and institutions that are calling for dialogue. The Islamic leaders that are calling for dialogue across board, not because there are any force. Of course, the Nigerian guys do not look like people who will yield to any kind of force. I feel they yielded only because there are more reasonable persons who have now entered into the negotiation table. There are more persons who are now calling, more people who are now calling for dialogue than the use of force. We could see the Sultan of Sokoto, we could see the MS Sanusi, we could see other leaders from other countries all seeking dialogue. They saw this and they don't understand it's also within the Muslim conclave, and there is this respect and reverence for their clerical leaders, and this is what is engineering that dialogue, not because it is by force. If it were by force, they've exceeded the days within which they were giving orders. They did not do that. They were also exceeded days after orders were given. Nothing has also happened. So you see, it does not lie here or there. Even before the orders were given, Nigeria had also written to the Senate, and the Senate denied that. So on what basis would Nigeria send their troops to that place?
All right, it's fair enough. We'll see how it turns out. But we can't help but notice that there's more involvement by Nigeria. Perhaps it's because it's a bordering nation, or other factors, long-standing relationships. We know the former president had a very special relationship with Nigerians. But that being said, however this turns out, do you think it might cast a light on how previous situations were treated, and perhaps that Nigeria needed to play a bigger role in ensuring that at least within our little region.
At the moment, Nigeria is
the big brother plays a role.
Nigeria is not playing that role of a big brother, because a big brother does not go about issuing threats that he cannot carry out.
But
a big brother
carry it out. Don't you think?
We can carry it out.
When you put side by side the military forces.
You are putting it side by side. But before you deploy military forces, you must need to get the sanction of the Senate. And Senate have said no. We are not giving you sanction. So what now happens if the Senate denies sanction? So you must, as a big brother, all heads must be on deck. You must think your decisions through. You do not only need, as a big brother, you do not just go out arbitrarily. You need to consult within yourself, do an afterthought and inward thought, and do the pros and cons of your actions, and not just wake up and then you issue out orders unilaterally. One day your orders might not hold water. A big brother will seek dialogue first before taking into actions. Now, we have not played that role. ECOWAS as a whole has not also played that role. So now you see that there is even much more respect to traditional rulers and religious rulers than it is to government, to heads of states. So now, Nigerians are bothered because they do not want a proxy war. And the way it seems, this is seeming like a proxy war which the Westerners are urging to fight within Nigeria. And trust me, the moment you launch an attack into Niger, they will do a retaliation attack. Where is it going to? It is falling inside Nigeria. Both innocent citizens that know what is war, that heard about the news, and those who did not hear about the news will be gone. And don't also forget, the Westerners will be where they are. They will be funding the war just like they are funding Ukraine, and Ukraine is in ashes right now. Those wars would have been averted. But you look at where Ukraine is right now, you look at how failed the country is almost right now. Is that what the West Africans want for themselves? A proxy war where Russians, China, US, France, UK will be fighting on proxy, using the territorial boundaries of African nations as a site, a battlefield. Who will bear the catastrophic effect? It is us Nigerians that will bear the catastrophic effect of those wars that will loom and the impending dangers it constitutes. So Nigerians are concerned because they will be at the receiving end. They will be the ones whose borders will be closed. They will be the ones who attack will be launched on. They will be the ones who will be in war zone. There is no war zone that is everly sweet. Never. So Nigerians are concerned because they do not want to participate in war. Nigerians are concerned because they want dialogue. They do not want to go to war. If these issues are resolved amicably, Nigerians will be better off, because nothing will be destroyed and nothing will be rebuilt.
All right, these are valid claims and valid fears, and we hope they're taken into account. And everyone will want a situation that ends without escalation, that ends with talks. And even some still believe that the issue of threats is just an avenue to lead to negotiation. And we hope it all turns out that way. Thank you so much, It's been great having you on the program about circulatory. Hope to have you back sometime soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's all we'll take for the POLITY for today. Don't forget, the POLITY reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We bring to you issues bordering on politics, governance, and the state of the nation. See you tomorrow. Bye for now. I am Amadine Ubewe.